Hello, I recently did a video showing how to make this, which is a passport cover. And you could also use it as a notebook cover if you make a notebook the size of a passport, also the size of what we call passbooks in our Passbook Pals trading group. So since then, I have made this one. This is my little peas in a pod, and you can see here that it's got. This is what I mean by putting a notebook in there instead of using it for a passport. So you can just make your own little notebook in here, and then you can carry this with you and always replace the notebooks as needed. It's a nice purse size, pocket size, briefcase size. So I'm going to work on another one today. I have made a third one, and I have a video out for that one. Well, I mean, it's going to be published soon, I think, but by the end of the month. In the meantime, I want to show you another one I want to make, and this one is going to be painted. Now, the thing with white Kraft-Tex is it's really hard to find right now, and I know Amazon's not doing free shipping on it. It seems like every company seems to be out of it right now. And Kraft-Tex, if you're not familiar with it, is a really sturdy, thick paper that's very hard to tear. You can sew on it, you can machine wash it, you can paint on it. There's just a lot of things you can do with it. Well, I want to paint on it, and the dimensions are 7.5 by 5.5, and I've made 2 pockets, and I've already painted them. And these are 1.5 by 5.5. And then we will go ahead and get started. Now, Kraft-Tex, I want to paint white to kind of this mauve color here, which is Persian red, it says. These are Master's Touch acrylics. They're pretty thick. And Kraft-Tex is so absorbent that it's hard to blend paint. So I like to take a little bit of water and just kind of mist it in there and give myself a nice big squirt here. Come on. And so the white isn't that necessary, but it is giving me a nice coat here to cover the Kraft-Tex and give me a nice base here. Okay, and this will get some on the other side, but I will paint the other side probably that Persian red color in the end. Now I'm going to put this along the bottom, and I'm going to blend it up and probably add a little more white to the top and carry that into it a little bit, so it's kind of a gradient effect. If I have too much of this color, I will simply wipe it off on my sheet here. I'm just kind of dry brushing it into the white a little bit now, so it has that gradated effect here. Looks pretty good. I think it's doing pretty well. I think I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back and show you the next part. I'm going to wash up, and we'll see you soon. Okay, that's pretty dry. So what I want to do is take a stencil out of my stash. This one is the Crafter's Workshop stencil, and it is Mini Daisy Chain. So on the area up here that has the white paint, I'm going to sponge a little bit of this. And on the area that has that color, I'm going to sponge some white using the same stencil. Now, these sponges are too narrow, and this is one of the examples of how I bought something cheap at the dollar store, and now I'm paying for it because I don't like these sponges. So I'm trying to curl it up a little bit so that the corners are kind of rounded and not squared off, so I'm not getting corners on there. So I'm going to pull this here and hold that down while I sponge. You don't want your stencil moving around, and you only want a little bit of the paint. I'm getting the paint and dabbing off the excess, if you can see that. You don't want it to be drippy. You have to be very careful and go light. It's better to get several coats of a almost dry sponge than to do one big coat of a juicy sponge, because then it bleeds under the stencil. I'm going to lift that up, and there you go. Now I'm going to do the opposite and put white down at the bottom here. I'll get a little more because I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to fold this over the other way. Normally, if I have a really good quality sponge, I'm going to wash it off and use it again, but I think I'm eager to get rid of these sponges. They're really poor quality. that up, and I'm going to come over here and do the same thing on this corner. There we go. Now I'm going to let that dry. Now, because I was sponging paint very sparingly on this, it dries quickly. So all I need to do now is stamp this, which is something I had gotten, I think it was Hobby Lobby clearance. Yes, it was. I got it for $2, and I thought it would be perfect there. So I'm going to stamp that using this. Now, it didn't cover very well, so what I'm going to do is take a magic marker and go over it. And what I've noticed about Kraft-Tex is that there's a rough side and a smooth side. If you use the smooth side, your stamping comes out better. Because I use the rough side, the stamping looks kind of waffle pattern there. So that's what happens when you stamp on the rough side. Okay, these were dried. I painted the back side. I didn't have to worry about the very end because I knew that this would cover it. And then I decided to go ahead and Mod Podge the fronts. I didn't do the Mod Podge here. But then I decided what I want to do before I sew these on is to glue a little edging on there. I haven't done that yet on any of these, and I want to make sure I do flat edging. So I have to look at the rounded corners. They're going to go to the outside, and then think about where I want this. It's probably going to be on the edge of the pocket, and I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac adhesive. They have changed the name of this. So some of the bottles say Fabri-Fix instead of Fabri-Tac. It's one of my favorite adhesives for gluing laces on. Okay, this dries pretty quickly, and I am going to sew these onto there, and I really do like the lace on there. Alrighty, everything is dry, and what I did was I made 2 of these pretty close together. I had shown you that I glued these on. I put these flaps on and I stitched all the way around the edges through a top stitch. Let me see if I can bring that in there where you can see it. Sorry, it's not focusing. There we go. Let me get the focus back in there. Okay, but instead of using it as a passport cover, we can always make these little passport size notebooks. These are also the size that we call our pass books in the Passbook Pal. So I took gold cardstock and some lightweight decorative paper, and I scored this down the middle at 3 3/4 and made this really cute passport cover. Now this one has a wider lace, and I love that as well. So I've got the 2 of those, the napkin one that I'll give you the tutorial for, this one here, which is the peas in a pod one, and then I have another one, which I'm just going to show you a sneak of right there. This one I have a separate tutorial for coming soon, and by the end of the month you'll be able to see that. So here's all the ones I have made. All of them have notebooks in them except for this one Paris one. So I am having a blast making these, and I think you will love them too. So I have some black Kraft-Tex that I want to play with next. And thank you so much for watching. This has been so fun making these. I think they're addictive. So I love them, and I think you'll love making them too.